What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes, and this is gonna be a review for the Legendary Chrom banner that we're getting tomorrow. And before I get into this review, I just want to put it out there that I'm gonna be busy with some real life stuff, so I'm not really gonna be able to post the summoning video or the free to play solution until like maybe Saturday or Sunday when I'm free. And that's the reason why I've not been able to upload too many videos as of late. But yeah, let's get with the review. So it is Legendary Chrom. I was expecting Selef actually this time, mainly because Legendary Marth was supposed to be on this banner, but he was shifted to some other banner, and like that kind of made it seem like it's gonna be a red hero, and Legendary Julia is also on this banner, but nope, it turned out to be Chrom. Incredibly popular unit, so I'm happy for the people who really wanted him. I believe his last alt was the horse alt he got 2 years back, I believe. So yeah, he's a blue infantry archer. I really wish they made him something other than blue, because Lucina is also blue. Red bow archer would have been nice, honestly. And he's a water pair up legendary hero, so that is definitely going to be pretty nice for allegiance battles, and it does help him score better in modes like arena and also allegiance battles, so that is pretty good. Being a colored bow unit, he does have some really strong matchups against red units, but he also struggles like against green enemies for nuking. So his weapon is Rangreather, and it's effective on both flying units and armored units, so that makes him a pretty good unit to be used in something like arena assault. You know, just being able to blast through armor units is really good, and I do think he's going to be having high attack, so that is great, and gives him +3 attack on top of that, so that is just really powerful again. And if the foe's HP is full, then he's able to neutralize the penalties on himself. So debuffs from stuff like chill skills, smoke skills, and the negative effects of panic ploy. Mind you, he's not really immune to panic ploy, but only the negative effect to that. And he's able to neutralize penalty on himself, and he's able to inflict -6 attack and debuff on foe during the combat, and this is in combat debuff, so this can be stacked up with visible debuff like defense smoke or attack smoke. And this also stacks up with little attack defense, so he's able to have -9 attack and defense debuff on the foe if the conditions are met, which is really insane because he's able to ignore the buffs to attack and defense of foe because of the lull skill, and he doesn't really care about debuffs on himself as long as the foe is at full HP. So you do not want to use him with Savage Blow, with Bold Tower, with stuff like that. You definitely want to just focus on one round killing opponents and not really leaving them alive with some kind of HP left. And in general, he does seem like a unit who's capable of doing that because of his high attack. So you would just need to run something like Crooked Post basically as a Sacred Seal. So this is really good effect, not being affected by any kind of debuffs. So he can act as a soaker of chill skills in a way if he has got high attack or high defense. So he could take those chill skills on himself to protect his allies from the negative effects of that, and he himself is not really affected by it. But still, it does have that kind of conditional effect where the foe needs to be at full health, so that could be annoying in some situations. He also has an exclusive assist skill similar to Legendary Lucina, but this is nowhere near as good as Legendary Lucina's Future Vision. So instead of having swap, he has got reposition, so it's like a reposition vision, and like because of Future Vision, Lucina is able to move forward and be a really offensive threat, but Chrom is not really able to move forward with this because it's a reposition. So he's able to use reposition, and while he does that, he's able to give them the +6 attack buff, which is like an attack link basically. And after he has done that, he inflicts isolation on himself and the pair up cohort if there's any through their next action. So that is basically to make it so that once he repositioned them, Chrom can still act, but he's affected by isolation, so he cannot really reposition again unless he actually attacks someone or just ends his turn and then he gets danced. Then I guess he could reposition again, but apparently from the Japanese trailer, he cannot really act out of the reposition again if he's been danced, so it can only apply once a turn. So for example, he could just use 2 Change Fate, you know, reposition an ally, inflict the isolation status, act out of that, and just attack anyone, and then get danced, and then he could reposition, and then it's going to be a normal reposition. He's not going to be able to like act again out of it, if it makes sense. I'm going to be having that on the screen. So it's a neat little thing. Not gonna lie, but still nowhere near as powerful. It definitely has potential, but once again, not really as threatening as Future Vision. However, he's gonna be having high attack, so that's definitely something to watch out for, I guess. He has got close counter, lull attack defense, and rouse defense risk. So that really suggests you that he is gonna be a defensive kind of unit, enemy phase unit, because of these kinds of skills. And he's got rouse defense risk, not an oath skill. So that activates only when he's not adjacent to an ally. He's able to give himself +6 defense and resistance. So I don't know what happened. You know, Chrom is all about being friends, you know, forming those bonds. But I guess after becoming a king, you know, maybe he doesn't care anymore. No, I'm just kidding. But still, like, you're able to use reposition, so you just do not have to end up near an ally if you want to get this kind of buff the next turn. Legendary Chrom is also really good as a fodder, being able to provide close counter and lull attack defense at the same time. So for someone like Kronia, it's like the perfect fodder unit because you could run lull skill and she needs close counter. So it's nice that we are going to be having a close counter unit in the rotation permanently in these legendary banners. So yeah, that's Chrom, definitely a pretty strong unit, able to have dual effectiveness against flying units and armored units, and can also nullify penalties on himself. And with his weapon and lull skill, basically like -9 attack and defense to buff, which is huge. So gonna be extremely powerful unit, but not really as broken or as threatening as Legendary Alm, I would say. Still powerful in his own right. And I do expect him to have this kind of stat line with high attack, high defense and resistance, but low speed. So it will matter how low they go with the speed, depends on the min-maxing. Hopefully it's not something like 28 or 29, and I hope they actually min-max him so that he could have more resistance. So that's gonna be the final dance on Halloween Jacob's grave, you know, if Halloween Faye has not already dunked on him, because Chrom is gonna be having more BST than Halloween Jacob, and definitely more than Legendary Lucina. So yeah, that is Chrom present in the blue pool, and now let's take a look at some of the other units on this banner. Gunnthra still has her niche with the Blizzard Tome, giving her more attack depending on the debuffs on the foes. And getting debuffs on the foes is pretty easy with chill skills, smoke skills, stuff like that. And she also has the chilling seal, and we have the shrine structures, of course. So Gunnthra still has her niche until we get something like a broadleaf fan equivalent for the green tomes, or tomes in general like that. Because broadleaf fan was a really major thing for a lot of the dagger units, and for their offensive capability. So Blizzard is definitely pretty useful in that regard. But other than that, she doesn't really have too stellar stat line. She doesn't have a lot of resistance or a lot of speed. Her attack is 31, but still, Blizzard Tome definitely helps her a lot in her damage output. And as for fodder, she has absolutely nothing. Res Ploy is basically it, and the only reason why she has got 1 out of 5 is because we don't have any kind of easily grail unit who has got Res Ploy. And that's the only reason. The day we get that kind of unit, that's it. She's going 0 out of 5 for fodder. Green color having Legendary Lyn and Gunnthra at the same time is a big oof for a lot of people because they are just so underwhelming in terms of fodder. Legendary Lyn is pretty much the worst, if not one of the worst legendary heroes we have in the game. It's just that she is not really able to excel in anything particularly. With her base kit and her stats, she wants to be like a mixed phase unit, but she doesn't have the BST for that. And she's not really able to accomplish any of those things really well. And the other thing is that her green color can also hold her back many times. It does help in certain matchups, but a lot of times it's gonna be hurting her. And as for fodder, she has absolutely nothing. Speed tactic is present on New Year Air, who is available in Grail, so yeah, just no point of going for that just for fodder. And the thing is that because she doesn't score too well in Arena, like this happened in the bonus season in Arena right now, even if you use her as a bonus unit, she doesn't score too well unless you've got a lot of merges on her. But she can be used in Ether Raid's offense, I guess, in the light season whenever wind season is coinciding. She can be like a decent mage tank because of her resistance and because of her color, especially being able to deal with stuff like Ophelia, I guess. So there she can see some usage, but in general she's not very impressive, and a lot of people just do not pull on green color if Legendary Lyn is on that legendary banner. Legendary Eirika is a pretty decent unit. With Lunar Brace, you can get the 3 damage and basically have a Black Luna with Moonbow. And the other way you could use her is that using her with Gale Force, because Storm Siegelin does give her the extra special charge, so you don't really need to run something like Heavy Blade on her Sacred Seal. So you could use her as a Gale Force unit by having Desperation in slot B, or even Escape Route, I guess. But the problem is that she faces competition from Eliwood. Yeah, Eliwood, present in 3-star, 4-star pool, has access to Blazing Durandal and its weapon Refine, and he can be an incredible Gale Force unit who is easily available, and who can be used in any season of Ether Raids. Not to mention, Eliwood is also easily mergeable, and the weapon Refine of Blazing Durandal is just absolutely incredible. Lunar Brace does increase your special cooldown, so keep that in mind. So Moonbow becomes a 3-turn cooldown special, but you could offset that by having Hook on Pulse, I guess. And for fodder, she has good attack speed solo, and attack speed solo is a pretty good skill, but most of the time it's like used on cavalry units. And there's really no other skill which you can offer other than this skill, so that's why she's got 3 out of 5, in my opinion. Even though free Peony has been given out, Legendary Azura is still a really insane support unit because of being able to buff up all stats of an ally. And Peony can also do that, but for example, if you have got Hone Attack 4 or Hone Speed 4 on her, and if you sing with her, then the difference is really significant between the buffs which Peony can give and buffs which Azura can give. And also the fact that Grey Waves allows infantry and flying units to have 1 extra movement, and that is just so threatening in Ether Raid's defense. And using that, you can catch a lot of people just off guard because of the extended range of the unit. So still a really insane support unit, and that's basically it. That's her main role. Her stats don't really matter. Fodder is extremely underwhelming. Blue Dual Flying is a skill which you can provide, but you might as well use Heath, Cormac, or Sigrun, who are free-to-play units and can score 170 BST without requiring any kind of dual skill. So dual skills are just outdated at this point. Aerobatics is also a skill you could like fodder off for, but there are just better support skills in general, and Aerobatics is present as a Sacred Seal, so not very good in terms of fodder. And if you already have 1 copy of her, then you don't really have too much incentive to get her, unless you want to run like 2 Legendary Azuras on your Ether Raid's defense team, so yeah, that's always an option. Duma is really underwhelming as a defensive mythic hero because he's an armored unit, and there's also Naga present who can provide the Divine Fang buff to allies to just slay him. And because of his poor movement, he's not going to be that threatening on a defense team, so that's what holds him back. But he's going to be helping you reduce the lift loss, and as I said before, no matter what, defensive mythic heroes will provide you the value of lift loss reduction. And Duma is not really very impressive outside of that, but Upheaval is pretty good for destroying the structure, like the offensive structure of the enemy. And if you like place Duma strategically, then you could many times just destroy their healing tower, bowl tower, or stuff like that, which are pretty common structures which people use. And I guess some people also use Tactics Room on offense, so I guess that's also a thing. But yeah, other than that, he's not very impressive. His rating would have been 6 out of 10, but he is useful in a particularly pay-to-win mode known as Millionaire Strike. So he does have the BST, so that is definitely going to be helpful. Upheaval is a high-scoring slotty skill, and you could have a high-scoring slotty skill on him and just have him score better. So there he could definitely help because, you know, mythic heroes are really important for Millionaire Strike scoring. Legendary Alm is a complete monster with Lunar Arc, his 37-37 offensive stat line, and Lunar Flash, and he can just cut through tanks like a knife cuts through butter. And for a lot of the in-game content, you could beat it with Alm and 3 Dancers, provided you have Desperation in slot B, so you will definitely need that. And for Ether Raids defense, we know how incredibly powerful he is, and right now, as of making this video, he's actually a bonus unit in Ether Raids. He's incredibly powerful with his true damage, and the only thing he could do to not die to Legendary Alm is have a lot of HP, basically, just stack HP. So that's the most effective way of surviving him. And yeah, obviously you could take him out in the player phase, but taking him on in the enemy phase is definitely a pretty big nightmare. And Lunar Flash is also a 2-turn cooldown special, so in Ether Raid's defensive teams, you could just have him on many of the Infantry Pulse teams, and there he could just fit as a really good nuke. And he is an Earth pair-up Legendary hero, so once again does have value in Allegiance battles, and the dual effect does let him have 175 BST, so he's able to score good in those kinds of game modes. His base kit is good enough, but if you want to invest more into him, then Sturdy Impact or Mirror Impact is definitely a really good and premium slotted skill that you could have on him. And as for fodder, you could inherit Darting Blow 4 and Null Follow-Up at the same time. And funnily enough, before I was making this, it was just in my head that Sturdy Impact is his default skill for slot A. That's how much I see Legendary Alm with Sturdy Impact. So as for fodder, he does provide 2 good skills. And I guess Darting Blow 4 isn't the worst skill to have if you're having Null Follow-Up on a unit, because they could appreciate more speed. But it's just that not a lot of units can fully utilize a special like him, which scales off on speed, so that's the main thing. Easily one of the best units in the game. Fallen Corrin is a pretty strong colorless dragon with high BST, and having that colorless is just so useful because she doesn't have like weapon strangle disadvantage, but still there are plenty of dragon slaying units, so she definitely has to watch out for that. And not to mention, if you do use her in Ether Raids in Astra Season, it's gonna be incredibly miserable for you because the Seers are gonna be present everywhere. So definitely do not use her in Astra Season if you're gonna be using her there. And Savage Breath is just really powerful because it's able to give her +6 to all of her stats during the combat if she's away from her allies. And as it is, she's got really balanced stat line, so she's able to make great use of that. And because of, being such a balanced unit, she can often run something like Distant Counter with Null Counter Disrupt or Null Follow-Up in general in Slot B, or even in Lull skill actually. So yeah, she is pretty good as an enemy phase unit in that regard. And you can always use her as a Vantage unit as well, because she's able to reach decent attack for that kind of thing. And Sudden Panic is not that potent on her because she doesn't have the highest HP, but it's incredible as a fodder, but unfortunately cannot inherit both Sudden Panic and Attack Speed solo, so that's a bit of a bummer, but depends what skill you need on her. Both of them are pretty useful skills. Sudden Panic especially, on high HP units, can be used both on like offensively, on some kind of support unit like Brattle Fiorm or any kind of dancer, and even defensively on a bulky dancer like Ninian or Sylvia, if you use that in Ether Raid's defense or in general, anywhere. Fallen Corrin is going to be a really powerful unit for any kind of in-game content because she does have that versatility, and being colorless is really helpful, but still gotta watch out for the dragon slaying weapons because there are plenty of those. Sothis is a really powerful unit. In any kind of game mode, she's going to be helping you a lot because she has got the self-sufficiency with Sirius, her special, which is able to heal her up and also scales off based on her speed. She also has Wrath and Time Pulse, and Attack Speed solo overall just helps her make her even better unit with her balanced stat line. And Sublime Surge is especially really useful because she doesn't care about dragon slaying weapons, so that is just really incredible, and that reason is why I wish she was usable in Ether Raid's offense. But unfortunately, because she's a dark mythic hero, if you use her in Ether Raid's offense, you're going to be losing some points, and that is definitely not something you should do. She's a pretty decent defensive mythic hero there, and she does do her job, which is to reduce the lifts. So no matter what, a defensive mythic hero will always have that value of reducing the lift loss. And because of her BST, she's definitely better than Yune in the Dark Major season in Millionaire Strike. So of course, there she also has a lot of importance. As for fodder, she does have Attack Speed solo, Wrath, and Time Pulse. You could inherit Wrath plus Time Pulse or Attack Speed solo at the same time if you sacrifice an Astrum. Unfortunately, cannot inherit both Time Pulse and Attack Speed solo. And if you want to get Time Pulse, then I guess Lift provides better fodder in Distant Counter and Time Pulse, so that's something, but still she's a pretty good fodder along with being a good unit. Legendary Julia is a really good nuke, and Virtus Naga helps her even more with her nuking potential. And Light and Dark, her exclusive skill, is basically like an Omni Lull skill in a way, providing the in-combat debuff on all stats of the foe and also just neutralizing the visible buffs, so that is just really useful. And on top of that, it also disables adaptive damage from dragons and stuff like that, so Legendary Julia can just nuke really well, and can also serve as a good unit to be used in Ether Raid's defense because she can ignore the buffs, and not to mention she can nuke the dragons into another dimension, and in general just work as a pretty good nuke. But she does have low defense and low speed, so that definitely leaves a bit more to be desired. Mirror Impact is definitely a pretty good skill to fodder her off for, but in general, like Sturdy Impact, I feel like is more valuable because, simply put, there are more units who would need sturdy impact than mirror impact. They appreciate the defense more than resistance, if that makes sense. But at the end of the day, it's an impact skill, so it is useful, and also it's a tier 4 skill. She can definitely make use of this in the player phase herself, and because of her lackluster speed, an impact skill definitely helped her a lot. Legendary Julia is also a pair up legendary hero, so she does have value in Allegiance battles for increasing your score. And because of the dual effect that she has got, she can score 175 BST in Arena, so that's definitely good. And in general, Legendary Julia is one of the best blue mages we have in the game. Phina as a dancer doesn't really stand out because we have got Legendary Azura, Peony, but outside of dancing, she is actually pretty good as a unit because of Rapier. It does have dual effectiveness against armor and cavalry units, and it also has inbuilt Vantage, so that frees up her slot B skill. So she can actually function as an offensive unit because you could have something like distant counter, special spiral, and slot B, and have any kind of like support slot C skill. And the inbuilt Vantage of Rapier is going to be extremely useful, and the dual effectiveness against armor and cavalry units is also really helpful in Vantage sweeping. And she does have pretty decent attack at base 35, so she is definitely capable of that. And she's also really good in Arena Assault because of Rapier, of course. So as I said, in terms of dancing, she doesn't really provide anything special, but as a unit, she is having a bit of a niche because of the inbuilt Vantage and the dual effectiveness. And the final unit we have on this banner is Gerik. So he's really good in terms of fodder compared to Gunnthra and Legendary Lin, but in general, like, the green pool of this banner isn't really the greatest. As a unit, he has got the same issues as Legendary Eirika, which I mentioned before, where he is pretty decent as a unit himself, but he just faces a lot of tough competition. He doesn't have a preferred weapon, so you have units like Valentine, Alm, and Celica, Hilda with that 37-37 offensive stat spread and a preferred weapon, kind of giving him a tough competition. And in terms of easily available units, there's always going to be Raven and Linus with the Basilicos and the Weapon Refine, and they can be pretty good with that, and they're also easily mergeable, so that's another thing. He does face competition in that regard. Now, to be fair, Gerik does have more HP than both of those, so he can be a bit more bulky, but nonetheless, the stiff competition is going to be there. As a fodder, he does provide Darting Blow 4, Sudden Panic together, or Sudden Panic and Infantry Pulse together, if you do sacrifice a Marissa, that is. And obviously, you could inherit Fire Sweep Axe too, so that is useful for fast axe units, I guess, who don't really have a preferred weapon. So thanks to him, the green pool isn't a complete dumpster fire when it comes to fodder. So that is the banner, and in my opinion, this banner is kind of underwhelming compared to many of the legendary banners we got before, mainly in terms of fodder and also in terms of units. The blue and the colorless pool are definitely the best ones, blue having Legendary Chrom, of course, Legendary Julia, who does have mirror impact, and Legendary Azura if you haven't got her already. But if you have her already, then Legendary Azura is kind of a dud because she doesn't have good fodder. And colorless, I guess Duma is a dud. Fallen Corrin and Legendary Alm are really good. And if you're aiming for Sothis, then Phina and Legendary Eirika are kind of a dud. I mean, they don't really provide anything in terms of fodder if you have them already. So that is going to be it for this review. If you guys enjoyed, like and comment. It helps a lot. And when you subscribe, please be sure to hit the notification bell so that you can always get the updates to my videos whenever I upload. Because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as the green pool of this banner. So with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.